Hello, everybody. I'm George Thomas, also known as Party George, and I'd like to offer you my vinyl tag of 2023. I'm using Rob Walker's questions. Thanks, Rob, for putting these together. And the first thing that I have to show you is favourite new release of 2023. And mine, I think, is this one by De Furiers, Songs from Planet Earth. These are two women, Vaz and Roz. Roz plays the guitar, Vaz plays the drums. They're absolutely cracking. They're post-punk, very loud, aggressive, I guess in a way, rock and some threatening lyrics in there. They use lockdown as the theme of this album. But the songs have a wider interpretation if you want to make them that way. It's on Extra Mile Records. I was privileged to see 4 gigs by them just recently. They were in a supporting role, and they were absolutely fantastic. I've got to say, heartily recommend them. Great musicians, great music, great vinyl, and my favourite of 2023. Well, moving on. The next one is the last band or solo act that you saw in 2022. Well, I've seen a lot. I love live music. I go to a lot of shows, but I've chosen this one. It's not the last one that I saw, but it was a great gig in Shrewsbury. Sarah Jane Morris, sweet little mystery. She's got Tony Reme accompanying her on the guitar, as she did, and a second guitarist on that night in Shrewsbury. But Sarah Jane, she's got a long history in music. She used to sing with a band called The Happy End. Had a lot of brass, sort of like a modern brass band, I guess, in a way. She's the vocalist with that. And also she was singing with the Communards, which I guess is her claim to fame. Anyway, this album is super. It's covers of John Martin songs, which by any standards is a tall order. Difficult to cover the songs by the master, I think, but she does a great job. Saw her doing one in Hastings, a gig organised by my friend Glenn. It's called Women's Night. Local Hastings women were invited to come and sing, and she did... Ooh, let me think, which was it? I Don't Want to Know About Evil. Oh man, she killed it. She swayed the joint. It was fantastic. A terrific experience. So on the strength of that, I went to see a gig, bought the record. A lot of money. Ooh, it was an expensive one. But you know, I don't regret it. I've seen plenty of CDs of this, but this is the only vinyl that I've seen. So I'm pleased to say, sweet little mystery, Sarah Jane Morris, grand album. Right, the next one that I have to talk about is their first album was their best, and my choice is Ian Dury, New Boots and Panties. He made a lot of great records, did Ian Dury, and such a great stable did Stiff have back in the late 70s. This one's from 77. There he is on the cover with his lad. New Boots and Panties, such a terrific record. Characters, you know, he captures the character of an area and the period of the time. Great language, funny, entertaining songs, great funk with the Blockheads, and a sort of combination of musical as well as in it. So heartily recommend you this one. Great record. His best, I think, and though he made many more crackers. Okay, now the next one that we've got is a hat trick of a vinyl, CD and cassette. And I'm going to pull out my things. Here's a cassette. I've got a few cassettes still left from the old days. This is a new one, Skinny Lister, and Matter of Life and Love. Great songs, sort of like shanty punk, bit of ska rolled into that. I've got the CD here, look, there it is, put it the right way up, Georgie, and the vinyl. So that's my trio. There we are, Skinny Lister, A Matter of Life and Love. And you can see great artwork on the flag, and I'll put that a bit closer so you can have a good look at it. This artwork here, compiled to represent the mythology of the band, and the flag in itself being a reminder of the fact that in the pre-lockdown days they used to hand out a flagon of booze to the audience. Great idea, great crowd pleaser, and guaranteed to stomp a party out. Okay, now then, next one was an album that starts and ends with the same letter. And I thought it was a bit of a random question, but nonetheless interesting, because Well, it gives you a chance to look at your collection, and I came up with this one. It is A Journey from the Satellite Heart by Flaming Lips. A fantastic album. By any chance you've got to hear this one? I think they're great. You know, I know it's Yoshimi won it, Battle of the Robots, so that was the big number for them, big breaking one. But this has got She Don't Use Jelly, which is a classic, and also what's the other one called that I really like? Da 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 da. When You're 22. Great song, fantastic album. Sack Rock by the Flaming Lips. I'm a newcomer to them, definitely a Johnny come lately, but I really enjoy them. This next one is someone born in the same year as you. And John Hyatt was born in 1952, as was I. We're both pair of old devils now. Saw John playing with Ry Cooder back in 1987, just before he released his album Bring the Family, which also featured Ry Cooder. And he had a great place. He had his support slot, but he also joined in with Ry Cooder in the main act. And my God, what a great player, great singer, great guitarist. Thoroughly enjoyed this. So consequently, when I saw this somewhere, can't remember where now, it was a long time ago, but Warming Up the Ice Age, heartily recommended. I don't have Bring the Family to show you, but I'm sure that's a good one too. Now then, most listened to album in 2022. For me, without a doubt, it's Sylvan Esso's Free Love. I love this album. Came across it streaming on Qobuz. It was in the new releases. I'd not heard of them before. I put it on. I think the first track was What If, and I was just immediately hooked. Unlike normally when I'm browsing through streaming channels and looking at recommendations, I don't listen to the whole album, but this one, I went right through it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant, start to finish. My favourites, I guess, are Frequency, Ferris Wheel, Rooftop Dancing, that's another great one. It's another duo, Amelia Meath and her husband, and Amelia's a great singer. She sings folk music too with a group called Mountain Men. And they sort of like got an electronic approach to pop music. The lyrics they seem just like pop songs, but underneath sometimes, and also against the music, the setting suggests sort of quite a lot more depth. Her voice is just alone is marvelous, and the arrangements there was something completely new to me, I've got to say, and I think this is a great band. This is the only one I got on vinyl, Free Love. Got it for a reasonable price. It's a new one. I think it's a new one. Might have bought it off Discogs somewhere, but anyway, it's as new. And if I come across others at an affordable price, then I will get them. Particularly With, which seems really expensive and seems to be only released in the States. So I haven't got access to a good copy of that. If anybody can put me right, then put it in the comments because I would love to hear it. Sylvan Esso, stay with them for the next question, which is most listened to act of 2022. And well, this counts for both of those. I stream all their music, but I've only got that one album. All right, moving on now, we'll have an Australian artist or band. Well, I thought I didn't have any, and then I had a closer look, and whoa, Gary Shearston. I'd forgotten about him. Now, this album, I must have bought it 20, 25 years ago. It was from a charity shop for £2. And it's an album of traditional Australian music. Now, I don't know how many aficionados are listening to me who like traditional Australian music, but I think it's great. And this one's got some of the real killer classics on it. It's got Shearer's Dream, Flash Jack from Gundagai. Let's have a look what else we got. Oh yeah, the Back Block Shearing. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a sparse record. It's just got Gary singing in his inimitable voice and playing the guitar. It's got a banjo and a harmonica on it, and it's really cool, and it's beautifully recorded. There's no fuss, no race, just as it is. And it captures that lovely authenticity of traditional folk music really well. So heartily recommend this album if you ever see it. Springtime, It Brings on the Shearing by Gary Shearston. And moving on. Right, I have to change my my sheet. Oh, yes, here we are. A record people would be surprised you purchased in 2022. Well, people who know me, I think they're giving up being surprised because my taste's really eclectic. And I guess if I came home with a Burt Kampfenbert record or something by Jim Reeves out of there, even him, maybe I can find a space for some of his songs. Great writer. But basically, I don't think anybody would be surprised by anything. So moving swiftly on, I'm going to 11. An artist or band you're complete on. And I'm not, I've got to say, a vinyl completist, although I may be complete on Steely Dan, and I think I might also be complete on Ry Cooder. But in fact, what I've chosen, an easy one, because they only made the one album. Sex Pistols, Never Mind the Bollocks. Such a great band, and such a fantastic impact that they had with just this one album. I think it's 1976 when it's released. Could be 77. It's 77, correct me, because big historical moment, Sex Pistols' only album. Of course, there's lots of spin-offs. You can buy bootlegs and you can buy compilations and other arrangements. But basically, in the band's existence, they just released the one. So I'm considering that to be complete for the purposes of this broadcast. Such a fantastic album. Well, Anarchy in the UK, Pretty Vacant, Liar, Problems, Holidays in the Sun. Such a great issues. Court cases around the title, media controversy and storm, banned from playing around the country. Such a big impact. Now, I was living in London at the time, could have gone to see them. I never actually did. Probably just as well, because I'd have been spat on and sworn at for being an old hippie, I'm sure. Well, a younger hippie then, but old by their standards. But what a great album. Proud to own it. Now then, moving on. A great run of 3 albums. Good question, this, because, my view is that if you've got people that are really competent and dedicated to what they do and you like what they do, chances of them letting you down aren't very great. But I've chosen a genius and one of my very favourites. It's Bob, the Bobster, Bob Dylan, bringing it all back home. I remember when I was young and focused on this album so carefully, I was trying to screw every little bit of detail out of that photograph there. He's there with, Grossman's wife, his manager's wife, and all sorts of junk on the table there, amongst which is a Robert Johnson record. Anyway, beside that, on the album itself, great songs. Mr. Tambourine Man, we've got She Belongs to Me, Maggie's Farm. Fantastic. So just such a terrific album, and also a historic one because it marked his departure from being just a single guitar player to playing with a band. And that was the beginning of quite a lot of controversy. Remember that? He followed it with Highway 61 Revisited. This is another terrific song. It's funny, it's heart-searching, it's deep, it's got some staggering depth. Desolation Rose on here, and what a song that is. Like a Rolling Stones on here. That's a modern-day classic now, isn't it? Let's have a look what else we got. Oh yeah, Highway 61 Revisited with its characteristic siren. Just a tremendous album. And then he went on and made a masterpiece. If those 2 albums weren't good enough for you, what about Blonde on Blonde? This is the first one kicking off with the typical rhythm and blues band style that actually defined him for quite a while. Though you can't say really that any single style defines Dylan. But I just love this album. Visions of Johanna. Such a powerful song. Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands. I've just bought this one in this year, 2022. Paid quite a lot of money for it by my standards. But it was just so like the one that I had when I was a boy that I gave away. What an idiot. Gave away such a lot of things. But nonetheless, bought it back. And I absolutely love it. Right, that's the 3 album trick. Moving on now, what have we got? Great soundtracks. Soundtracks of an 80s film. I'll just show one of your favourites. You know, I've only got one. I didn't think I had any until I was sort of flicking through. I looked through my Ry Cooder records, and I have this one, Crossroads. This is the theme record of the theme music and soundtrack for the film Crossroads, written by Ry Cooder. It features Sonny Terry on the harmonica on one track. It's got his usual friends and collaborators. Jim Keltner's on it. It's a tremendous record. The film, I don't know if you remember the film, but it was based on a student's discovery of Robert Johnson and his fascination with the myth around him, and a search for the crossroads where the old legendary guitar was handed over by the devil, which made Robert Johnson a great player. And so little's known about him. Let's not refute the myth. Okay, who did we lose in 2022? Well, from my point of view, one of the great folk singers of my youth and all my life, really, and I've been a lifelong fan of Norma Waterston, and she was a singer with the band The Waterstones. And Waterstones, they recorded this Frost and Fire, I think it's 1965, could be wrong. I'm not, it's right, it says on the back, 1965. And this is a song of rituals, songs of rituals around the country during the dark and difficult days. Fantastic. It's got lots of their classics on, and you know, it's a family band. She's there with her brother Mike and her sister Lal, and also their cousin John Harrison. Sorry, that's wrong, John Harrison. And yeah, such a great record. And they followed it up with this one, Yorkshire Garland. She went on to marry Martin Carthy, another great character in the British folk scene, still going around the folk clubs, still gigging as far as I'm aware anyway, and he's in his 80s now, but a great player, one of my heroes. So Norma Waterston, sadly lost her in 2022. Okay, moving on. Most disappointing purchase in 2022. Well, I did have one, but it wasn't an expensive one, so I don't consider it a great loss. It's this Five Bridges by The Nice. I remember seeing The Nice back in 1969 at the Bath Blues Festival. Keith Emerson stabbing the heck out of his Hammond organ, or something that looked like one anyway, with a dagger, something like that. I think he'd be allowed on stage with a dagger now. But anyway, he certainly made a lot of mess and a lot of noise, and it was quite exciting. And my friend, who I went to that gig with, that in Bath, which was my first visit to Bath. I was only a kid. It was a great visit. And he bought this album shortly after. I think this is 1960, maybe 1970 when this came out. And I remember listening to it. I don't remember anything about it, but I bought it for nostalgia's sake. It's a lovely copy. But, you know, to me, it didn't really ring my bell when I came to putting it on the deck. It's a collaboration between The Nice, Keith Emerson, bass and drums, and the London Symphony Orchestra. And that sort of fusion doesn't really rock my boat. I think it's pretentious at best and unnecessary at worst. But on the other hand, this album is in great condition, and it's covers beautiful. So if you want, if you're interested in The Nice, and you just drop me a comment, I'll pass it on to you. Now then, non-vinyl purchase CD or book that you bought in 2022. And I suggested I'm going to talk about one. I bought a lot of CDs, but I'm going to talk about one that a book. In this case, it's Herd Laddie of the Glen. Here he is. It's Willie Scott. It's the life history and songs of Willie Scott, who was a Liddesdale shepherd. And he learned his songs from the people that were around him, from his parents maybe, and his workmates, people down the pub. He didn't learn them listening to records, and so he's what's known in the English tradition as a source singer. He was a shepherd, worked all his life, and I was lucky enough to see Willie Willie Scott in Leicester, in the Leicester Traditional Music Club, where a bunch of my friends, they were very keen on traditional music, and they would go out of their way to collect, deliver, put up and take home again the various old singers who still remembered songs that they'd learned from their communities. Willie Scott was one of those guys. And he was tremendous. And a deadly aim with his walking stick when a spider ran across the floor and scared one of my pals into jumping on his seat. Willie Scott, his songs are contained in here. If you were interested in Willie Scott and his singing, he's on an album on Topic called The Shepherd's Song. There he is making one of his famous shepherd's crooks. There he is, yeah. Great singer, funny, entertaining man, and a great example of the power of delivery that some of these old guys had in the source singing. Authenticity rings out every time. So I recommend that. This book's Her Laddie the Glen, compiled by Alison McMorland herself, a great Scottish singer. Okay. So we move on. You found a grail, and didn't I just? Now, a little while ago, I bought a Topic record. It was it's a CD, actually. It's a Topic CD, I have to say, and it was in the Voice of the People series, Music of Orkney. On it, there were 4 or 5 tracks by a band called the Garson Trio, and I loved them. It's a 3-piece. It's guitar and accordion and fiddle, and I just loved it. I loved it, and so I thought, whoa, I wonder if they ever recorded. And I did find out that they'd been recorded by Peter Kennedy, and those were the tracks that were on this record. But they'd actually had recorded on vinyl, but only on an EP. And here it is. I got it. Orcadian Dance Music by the Garson Trio. And they are Jimmy Garson on the fiddle, and his daughter Iris on the accordion, and her husband John Nicholson on the guitar. And well, the fiddle and the accordion, they're really accomplished players, and the guitar is just so interesting. He sort of tunes it to a chord and plays it over the top. He holds it in an unusual way. Holds the guitar in an unusual way, frets it in an unusual way, and the sound is unusual. Wouldn't say it was sort of like conservatoire style, certainly not, but it is very vital and it is vigorous. And I know from experience what dances go like up in the Orkneys and in the Shetland Isles, where everybody knows the dances and all the musicians have to do is whack out the tunes, and these guys do in such beautiful authenticity and such crispness and vitality. And you're listening to music basically as it's in the community in which it's born, without any platform from the mass media at all. So this is a great album. I was pleased to get it. eBay, £2. I noticed, I think on Discogs only 3 other people have got it in the collections, and some others are looking for it. It's not got any value, but to me it was a grail. Okay, so a space-themed album or sleeve. Space-themed album, sleeve or song is what I've got to show you now. So I'm going to cheat a little bit because it's not really space themed, but it is otherworldly. An Electric Storm by the White Noise. The White Noise band with Delia Derbyshire, who worked in the BBC Radiophonic workshop, and on this album, Black Mass, Electronic Storm in Hell, that's what I'm going to use as my space themed tune. I'm so excited to get this. I used to listen to it ages ago when I was a hanger-on of some students in Keele University. One big night, had a big storm, put this on the hi-fi. Oh, it's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Atmospheric and frightening, and I'd never seen the album or heard it since. And there it was in the charity shop alongside the nice Five Bridges. So on the one hand, I got one of my most disappointing purchases, only £2, mind, and then £2 for this one, and how satisfied I was with that. Brilliant. So that's my noise. White Noise. That's my space themed sleeve or song. And now I've got to show you a present. Well, I do have one. do have a present here. Vinyl Community Love Token, is it? Or a present, and mine is by Tom Jenkins. This is an album of a Welsh singer-songwriter who I was fortunate enough to get to meet maybe a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, when he was supporting Frank Turner in Frome. I didn't see Tom play in that particular time, but we hit it off, and just recently I've had plenty of opportunity to see his shows, and he gave me this album. It's his latest album, and it's great. There he is striding towards us, hey, on the cover. He's an unusual man because he combines the job of being a musician and songwriter with being a farmer. And if you know anything about farming, it's all about regularity and being there to do your jobs. But he manages to combine the both. And he's a great singer and a great songwriter. And I recommend this album to you. It's on the Extra Mile label again. And it has on it my two favourites, I think, are Backroads and Products of the Western World. So thanks, Tom, very much for giving me this album. Love it, and I love your music. Okay, and we're at the end of my 20 questions now. This is question number 20. Show an album that was released in 1973, and I've got this one, John Martyn's Solid Air. This is one of my very favourite albums ever. I think I first heard John Martyn, I must have been about 16 or 17. It was the album The Tumbler. It was his second album that was out, followed his career since then. And he's made a load of great albums after this one as well as before it. But this is my very favourite one. Somehow this captures an emotional depth, great songwriting, great singing. He's just moving towards his characteristic vocal style on this record. He's got Danny Thompson playing the double bass. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's got John Bundruck on piano, Dave Mattox on drums, Dave Pegg on electric bass. It's an astonishing album, and I believe used often to demonstrate the quality of hi-fi because of its recording quality and the separation that you get between the instruments on it. Anyway, regardless of the technical stuff, great songwriting, great record, released in 1973. And that brings us to the end of my vinyl tag. And thank you very much, Rob, for suggesting the questions. And I'd also like to offer my thanks to Dylan of Noble Records, the Omaha Introvert, Belinda Murphy, Vinyl Orchard, Rob Walker himself, I say again, for putting the questions together. And I've really enjoyed presenting my vinyl tag. If you've liked it, please press the like button at the end. Cheers. Bye now.